G'day everybody, my name's Richard. Welcome to another edition of Australian Paddock. Now in this video, I'm going to do something experimental, which is going to be how to prevent damage to our fruit trees in our little orchard where I'm standing using a fan. Yeah, sounds ridiculous. So last year, our fruit trees, is an example of our almond here, got very badly damaged. We lost all our almonds and a number of other fruit off the trees because it was the worst frost year apparently in years, the local guys told me. And I didn't really want that to happen again. Now, running frost in any orchard or a vineyard is really difficult. You can light fires, you can have big frost fans that blow air down from up on high, above what they call the inversion layer to keep things warm. But that's just impractical, expensive. You can even fly a helicopter over it. So the question I had was, what do you do in a home garden? And a couple of websites suggested that you can just move the air just to prevent the frost from forming. In an area where we are, where we get plenty of frost, but it doesn't get really cold. It might get to maybe 1 or 2 degrees below zero, and only very briefly. So the idea is, what I want is a fan that will turn on when the temperature drops below about 1.5 degrees Celsius, and then turns off again when the temperature comes above about 2.5 degrees Celsius. And so the question was, how do we do that? So I'll show you the solution that I've come up with, and I hope you find that interesting. And as always with my videos, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. So the first thing we should look at is what I'm trying to save, which is our almonds. And you can see our almond buds here coming up very nicely. We're basically right at bud burst. In fact, from this almond to this almond and to this almond, you can see that we've actually got the blossoms forming. So we are at bud burst, some beautiful flowers down here. There's a frost forecast, I think it's forecast for the coming Wednesday morning. And I really don't want to lose all these lovely flowers. So this is what we're trying to save. So in terms of equipment for our automated frost fan, we need a fan. This is a 75 centimetre oscillating pedestal fan. Got it from Bunnings for just over $135. I'll put the links down below the video. Now it's connected to the other important piece of equipment, which is my Wi-Fi connected smart switch. Now you don't need to do this in the way I'm going to do it, but I enjoy doing the smart stuff, and so that's why I do it. You could just turn the fan on if you wanted to in the evening and turn off in the morning. Or you could put on a timer switch which came on at say 2 a.m. and turn off at 8 a.m. So there's no real technological need per se, but I like to do the smart switch. And you can see there's a Wi-Fi little symbol, and zoom in somehow, there we go. And that has to connect to our Wi-Fi receiver on the shed, and I use a Unify platform for that. So as long as I've got connection, that's fantastic. Now the final important component is also on the shed, which is the top of the mast there, which is our Weatherflow Tempest Smart Weather Station. It's a fantastic bit of unit. Again, I'll leave the links below. So all the pieces of equipment are then tied together electronically via the Home Assistant Smart Hub platform. If you're not familiar with it, I'll leave a link below for that as well. In the next part of the video, we will look at how these things are configured in Home Assistant to turn the fan on when it gets cold and turn it off again when it gets warmer. So this is my Home Assistant screen where I can see everything to do with my frost fan. On the right hand side here, I've got whether there's a frost warning from the Bureau of Meteorology for my area, and there is one on for the night. I can see the temperature from my Weatherflow smart meter on the roof of the shed, currently 9.3 degrees. And here is the switch that could turn on the frost fan remotely, even from the computer here. Now here is a graph of the current temperature. So you can see it's coming down tonight as I'm making this video. And up here, you can see the history of the frost warning. So it came on at 1:51 p.m. And underneath it, you can see whether the frost fan is on or off. And there's a little section here where I've been testing it and mucking around with it. It's currently off. Now here is my Home Assistant automation. I've got it showing the code because it's a little bit easy to get it onto one screen. But essentially what we're saying is that when my air temperature from my WeatherFlow smart weather station on the roof goes below 1.5 degrees for 15 minutes, that's the trigger to turn on the frost fan. And my trigger to turn off the frost fan is when the air temperature goes above 2.5 degrees for 15 minutes. So the on trigger has a condition, which is there must be a Bureau frost warning, which is here. And then it calls the action to turn on the frost fan. The off action is simply to turn off the frost fan. So it's very simplistic. You're just going to turn it on and off based on the temperatures and the condition. Well, this is the second morning since we've had the frost fan set up, and it is definitely a frost today. It is an absolute frozen wasteland. It's 7:30 in the morning. Let's go and have a look at the system and see what's happening in terms of the controlling of the fan. So here's Home Assistant. We had a big frost throughout last night and we're still having it. I don't know if you can see at the top here, but we've got the frost warning from the Bureau's come off. That's okay, but it's still outside minus 2.5 degrees. And the frost fan is, the switch is still running, which is fantastic. So that's worked really, really well. If you look at the graph here, you can see that the lowest point was about minus 2.9 degrees at just before 7 a.m., which is interesting. The frost fan itself turned itself on at 11:30 last night, and it's still on. And that on time represents a temperature drop below 1.5 degrees. Now, between the setup of the automation and this frost, we had an intermediate frost. This is our second day of frosts. And what happened was I felt that the dropping below 1.5 and coming above 2.5 for 15 minutes wasn't right. So I've just said, just go below 1.5 degrees, turn it on, and come above 1.5 degrees and turn it off. And the reason for that is because the temperature sensor on the shed, which is higher up, can sometimes be warmer than at ground level. So ground level can be colder. So you don't want to be, say, setting it to come on below zero and above zero. So there's a differential there. So this has worked extremely well. So what we're going to do now is we'll come back in 2 days and we'll look at our flowers on the trees. So we've just had really 2 bad frosts in a row and 1 semi-frost. The frost fan has come on 2 nights in a row, one night down to 1.9 and one night down to about 2.9, as you've just seen in the previous part of this video. So what's happened out here? Well, we still have all of our beautiful blossoms and look fantastic. This is 2 days after the really, really cold minus 2.9 frost, which was all night. So looking good so far. So what I've proven at the moment is that I can set up a big fan. It does work to blow the air around this area, and there is no frost damage at this point. So that's the end of this video for now. There'll be another video because while the blossoms may be resilient to frost to a certain extent, the so-called nutlets on these almonds are definitely not. And that's when we lost them last year, when they were nutlets, bad frost, and they all died. So I'll finish this video and we'll do a follow-up video when I can show you the before and after nutlets and frost effect with the fan. So again, I hope you like these videos. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again very soon.